Aloha business leaders and sustainability champions. It's 2024, and if you haven't heard about microgrids yet, then you've kind of been living in a cave because microgrids really aren't just a buzzword in the energy sector. They're really a game-changing solution for businesses looking to boost their resilience, cut costs, and join the green revolution, right? So let's just kind of dive into what a microgrid is and why it might just be the smartest investment your business can make this year. So, what is a microgrid, right? In simple terms, a microgrid, as kind of what they say, like it's this self-sufficient energy system that powers a small area, whether it be a home, a building, a business campus, a hospital complex, even an entire neighborhood, right? So think of it as your very own power grid, your mini power grid that can operate independently or in conjunction with the traditional utility grid, right? So typically, what sets this microgrid apart is its ability to generate power, store power, and have some control system that allows it to be able to distribute, regulate, and kind of see where the flow of electricity happens on your property, right? So typically, we have three components, like I said. First part is the generation side. So these would be things like solar, wind, generators, right? So it's basically things that generate power. The second part to the mix is batteries, something or storage, some sort of storage, right? So it could be batteries. These are definitely things that are being utilized more. And then the third part is some sort of control system, system management, right? And what this means is it allows it to control the load of where things are going. And more importantly, when it comes to a microgrid, it actually has to have the ability to island itself from the grid. So in the case of a blackout, typically if you have solar, you'll get blacked out too. If you have solar and storage, you're going to get a blackout. But if you have a microgrid, that means that you have controls that will allow you to remove yourself from the grid and act in what they call an island mode, right? So these are the things that make them really exciting, right? So, why microgrids in 2024? The reality is the world is changing. So is the way we use energy, right? So with the rise of renewable energy sources and this growing need for reliable power, this resiliency as they call it, right? Microgrids really aren't just this futuristic concept, right? But they're current present day solutions. And this is why they're relevant to your business in 2024. Number 1, I think it's really important for us to look at the fact that energy independence is so important, right? When we rely on the main power grid, that can be risky. Okay. Blackouts, power inconsistencies, these are more than just inconveniences, right? They can be really costly for businesses. I remember going to a huge facility. It was an auto manufacturer, and they actually had their R&D department in the basement. And they said that their power was good. They didn't get blackouts. But what they did have was these inconsistencies where they would have these spikes that would come through and it would basically reset all of their equipment downstairs. So, yeah, you're not going to get a blackout because your power is good, but it's that inconsistency, right? That right there was the thing that kind of put that entity over the edge to say, yes, we do need this. But then there's the other side, which is, to what we were talking about, which is the resiliency part, right? One of the things that happened in and this is where it really started to highlight the importance of microgrids. Some of us remember the wildfires in the city of Paradise in California. And it was because of those wildfires that PG&E, the utility, started to implement what is known as public safety power shutoffs. This was the utility's kind of free ticket, let's call it, to be able to de energize an entire portion of the grid for the sake of being able to protect that area from more wildfire spreading because of the utility lines. So it was a good thing to help protect the community. But if you have a business that needs to be operating, if you're miles away from any threat, but if you're connected to the grid, the reality is when they shut off the grid, when they do this public safety power shut off, you will get shut off. So therein lies the quote unquote energy independence that we were talking about, to be able to have that type of energy supply that's giving you control and peace of mind. The second thing that is really another important thing is cost savings, right? Energy costs are just continuing to soar, right? I was born and raised in Hawaii. Cost of energy was the highest in the country. And then I moved to Southern California a few years back, and I'm an SDG&E San Diego Gas and Electric customer. And just, I think it was last year, we beat Hawaii. Who would have ever thought that California, the home of so much renewable energy, and we are now at a higher cost per kWh than an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, right? So energy costs are just soaring, and who doesn't want to cut down expenses? And this is something that was interesting. I didn't realize this, but from the financial perspective, what I learned is that the on the balance sheet they actually put utility costs as a fixed cost. A lot of businesses are using the utility cost as a fixed cost. If anybody has ever seen a utility bill, there's nothing fixed about it. So, when you're trying to create those scenarios, cost savings are really, really important. But on the other side, it's being able to plan because you know that you have those types of controls in place because you have control of your energy, right? And even the other side, when we talk about cost savings in some regions and some areas, you can actually sell your excess energy back to the grid. And this is a really great way to turn a cost center into a revenue stream, right? Number three is sustainability goals. Let's face it, guys. Sustainability is not just good for the planet, it's good for business. Customers, investors, regulators, they're all kind of leaning towards green business practices. Microgrids, with their ability to integrate renewable energy, it really helps you hit those green targets. And at the end of the day, it helps boost your brand image. And this right here is one that kind of makes sense, which is technological advances, right? The tech behind microgrids. This stuff is not just, oh, what is this? Oh, it's a diesel generator and it keeps the power on, right? I mean, you're talking, the tech is just leaps and bounds on what it's able to do. You've got smarter management systems and controls. You have these enhanced storage, energy storage solutions, and you've got really good renewable energy technologies, right? So there's never been a better time to invest in a microgrid. And quite frankly, there's a lot of incentives to be able to bring this online. So, it really is a good scenario for us in 2024. Now, how do microgrids work, right? So to get a little technical, but not too much, right? I promise. Okay. So microgrids, they work through this combination of, again, energy generation, storage, and controls management, right? So the generation this is the heart of the microgrid, right? Solar panels are one of the biggest things that we look at, right? Wind turbines, small scale natural gas generators, all of these things produce electricity. And then on the other side of it, you've got the storage component, right? Energy storage systems like lithium ion batteries, they store excess energy that's generated during peak production times. These stored energy scenarios can give us the ability to store the excess energy when production is high, right? In the middle of the day, and we're not using it as much, let's say. But then it also allows us to be able to use it when production is low, let's say at night or times when it's cloudy, right? So this helps to ensure this constant energy supply. And then the third component that we talked about was a control system or a management system, right? This is the brains of the operation. This has this sophisticated energy management that has monitoring, and it monitors the energy production, the storage, the direction, load control. It decides based on time, price, and availability, utilizing artificial intelligence, all the really smart, intelligent things. When to use power from the grid, when to use power from your renewable energy sources or from your batteries, when to conserve it, when to sell the excess, right? So when we think about, you know, microgrids, you may be thinking, okay, I like the idea, I like the concept, but where do I start? At the end of the day, the first thing that you have to do is decide, and then you move towards getting an assessment, right? You need to assess your energy needs, right? Considering your current energy costs, your usage, your patterns, your sustainability goals, right? These are just some of the crucial steps in designing a microgrid to fit your specific needs, right? Then there's the designing and planning. You work with energy experts to help design your microgrid, decide on what type of generation technologies, storage technologies, control systems, right? This involves selecting the right mix and the planning of the installation. Third, we got to look at regulatory compliance. We navigate this legal landscape because of dealing with the utilities that were involved, all of the AHJs, all of these different things that we have to ensure that we are in compliant with local regulations and utilities requirements. Number four is installation and integration. Once everything's set, the installation can begin. This phase involves setting up the generation units, the storage systems, management software, and the interoperability of all of these complex systems. And once that's built, we've got the operations and maintenance. After you install your microgrid, it needs regular maintenance, and to be able to keep it running real smoothly and efficiently. But the good part is there's a lot of support out there, right? With the right support and the right systems in place, this is less of a chore and more of a checkup. So as we see and understand, microgrids really are not just a smart choice. They're a strategic investment strategy for business looking to be resilient, looking to reduce cost, looking to reduce GHG emissions, and really to be sustainable in 2024 and beyond. As energy needs evolve and the world shifts towards a cleaner, more reliable power sources, microgrid standout is kind of a beacon of innovation and, more importantly, independence. So, are you ready to power your business into the future with a microgrid? The time is now. Thank you for joining us. Aloha.